Let me just start out by asking, how many of you guys saw the sign on the skyline? So a good fair amount of you guys. So you understand the significance it had on the Michigan Mile, or the waterfront there in Chicago. It was important. It was an important part of BNSF's history, and we are very proud to be here tonight. But I've been talking to Nick and Dave since we've been working on this project together, and where are we at on this process? How's it going? What do you need? What can we do to help? And finally, a couple of weeks ago, I talked to Nick, and he kind of echoed what he said tonight. He goes, "Oh boy, wait till you see that thing turned on. It's like daylight." So I'm a little nervous standing here, hoping someone doesn't flip a sign. It's going to be like roasted chickens out here. So, but we're so proud and so happy to have this sign finally restored, on display for the public to see and to appreciate, and be here for generations to come. I'm a newbie at the railroad. I've been at the railroad for almost 10 years, and in railroad time, as many people know, that's like a year. So when I was at the railroad, I was asking people about the history of BNSF and the Santa Fe and all the other predecessor railroads. And everybody I talked to that had ever worked in Chicago, they always mentioned the Railroad Exchange building. And in particular, how beautiful it was, and the intricacy and the architecture, and just the building itself, how magnificent it was compared to other structures that a lot of railroads operate out of today. One thing they always mentioned was the sign. And the sign, what are you talking about? I haven't seen this sign. And they'd always talk about, yeah, it's on top of the building. Look at any historic picture of Chicago, you're going to see the Santa Fe sign up there if it's a shot taken from Lake Michigan. And sure enough, I went and Googled it, and there it was, and all the story. And I thought, my gosh, whatever happened to that sign? And it turns out I wasn't the only one thinking that. Employees across our network, including up through our leadership, always wondered whatever happened to the Santa Fe sign that was on top of the Railroad Exchange building in Chicago. Well, it was my mission to find out what happened. Paul Nowicki, who was the Government Affairs Director here in Chicago, who's going to retire soon, I called him and asked him, and he says, I believe the Illinois Railroad Museum has it. And I thought, perfect, it's on display. Let's go out and see it. I want to get some pictures. Let's do a story about it, and let our employees and other interested rail enthusiasts know whatever happened to the sign. So I called up Nick Kallas, didn't know who he was. He answered the phone, and I introduced myself, and I said, Nick, I understand you have the Santa Fe sign, the iconic Santa Fe sign. And he goes, oh yeah, we do. And I said, well, I'd like to come out and see it. And he goes, oh, I don't know. He goes, it's in a barn. We got to try to get it out to where you get to it and see what it looks like. And I said, in a barn? So he goes, yeah, come on out. And I said, well, we'd like to try to do something to get it on display, or take it off your hands and display it somewhere. Came up and had several meetings with Nick. He showed me the sign. And I said, well, we're interested in doing something with it. Would you be interested in selling it? We want to see it restored. Nick kind of hammed and hawed, and several months of phone calls and talks, and never got an answer out of him. If anybody knows Nick, I'm sure you've had the same experience. So finally, some folks in our leadership said, just find out what we've got to do to get the sign displayed. If they don't want to display it, we want to buy it. Nick came down to our headquarters. We met with some executives. We drafted a plan, a contract, that they would restore the sign and have it on display here in Illinois at the Illinois Railroad Museum where it belongs. So we did that late last year, and within, gosh, a matter of months, I thought this was going to stretch out for a year or two, and I'd have a good reason to keep coming to Chicago. Dave Diamond got involved. Dave started making the calls. He goes, I got the perfect sign guy to restore it. He sent me a list of questions. What's the paint color codes? And I'm like, man, I've only been at the railroad 10 years. I've never seen the sign. We did the research, got all the historically accurate paint color codes for this particular kind of metal, got it to Dave. He worked with the sign folks, and I think you have to say they've done a remarkable job at restoring the sign. At least I was really impressed when we pulled up, particularly when you could see it, half mile away. So I can only imagine what its glory is going to look like tonight when we illuminate it. So It's on behalf of BNSF Railway, the BNSF Foundation, and the 43,000 employees we have across our network. We want to say thank you to the Illinois Railroad Museum. Thank you to Dave Diamond and everybody here that showed interest in the sign, just the kind of interest that we had. We appreciate everything you've done to make it restored and on display for the public to enjoy, come out and see. We think it's a nice addition to the museum, and we appreciate everything that's been done. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Jack, for those reminiscences. And this brings us to the closing remarks. And I've been looking at my watch and looking out at the sky out there and just going, oh, do I need to do a song and dance? Because do we need to waste a little bit more time and get her down? But as I recall, it really puts the light out. But one thing that I did want to kind of get out there is that here at the museum, there's a lot of strange combinations that happen. But there's also, and that's in terms of pieces of equipment and that they never ran together. They were different systems. There's no photos of Aurora Elgin cars and Illinois Terminal cars together and things of that nature. But one thing about the sign and where it is, because I remember the time when we were together with Dave and the other fellows at the planning committee, and we had it down to 4 locations. And we're walking around looking at all these different 4 locations of where this sign could be and be located. And we're looking at the pluses and minuses of where to put this thing. And when we were looking at this location, they're talking about, well, what's it going to look like with the depot, what's it going to look like with everything. But one thing that struck me is that, wait a minute, it's right here by the L station. And L cars, all of them that we have in our collection, used to pass this sign 1 block away, day in and day out. So in a way, we reunited the sign with its brethren, rail equipment, here at the Illinois Railway Museum. So at this time, we're going to light the sign. I'm going to call up Dave and Andy, and maybe Dave, you want to tell us actually the procedure is pretty simple.
We're going to push 2 buttons. Yeah. So you're going to see half of it light and then the other half light.
Yeah, there you go. So everybody, you're forewarned, put on your sunglasses and get ready for the lighting of the sign. Okay.
This comfort.
Yeah. So why don't all of us give them a countdown from 5 down? So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bingo!
Wow.
It looks better now than it ever did before.
Well, listen, folks, thank you very much for coming and supporting the museum and witnessing this event. We certainly are very proud of what we have here, and we're going to try to get the podium out of the way for pictures, but we're also going to be having cake and coffee right behind you in the tent. And we have these special cakes, and one of them has a picture of the building on it. I never knew this, but they can put a picture in this computer, and it'll make you an edible an edible concoction, I guess, on your cake. So we have cakes inside the tent there. Lisa's here to take care of us on the cake and coffee side, and so enjoy. And thank you very much for coming out and supporting the Illinois Railway Museum. Thanks again, folks, and as they say in the bars, drive home safely.